All right, we're making content. Let's make content. Q Shaman. We're going to talk about the Q Shaman because I'm on my Sigma NB interview grind set. Okay, I want to figure out what makes good interviews. What makes for a good interview? What are the pieces? Anyone can do it. It seems like. You know, if they know what they're doing. So I guess not everyone can do it. But if they know what they're doing, it seems like anyone can do it. Andrew Callahan interviews the Q Shaman, who's serving a 41-month prison sentence. I honestly feel like that's way too much. What did he do? He just went in. He didn't even steal the muffins. You know what I mean? He didn't even steal the muffins. He kept the other guys from stealing the muffins. Don't desecrate this place, he says. I respect that. He got 41 months. His name is Jake Angeli. And he's most notable for wearing this crazy fucking outfit to storm the Capitol. J6. Callahan reminds you of Justin Thoreau. Is he on my list? All right, here we go. Let's check this out. I've seen this before. So yeah, I pre-watched it, but I'm watching it with a different lens. Here we go.
This is a free call from
Jacob Angeli.
an incarcerated
Angeli?
individual at Alexandria Detention Center. This call is not private. It will be recorded and may be monitored.
It's pretty wild. Is that him? All right, thanks, the cutesy.
Hey! Fucking hey, man. Glad to see you guys. You guys are fucking patriots. Look at this guy. He's got covered in blood. God bless you.
I got shot in the face.
You got shot in the face. The cop walking behind him here in the video, I think we've seen an interview of him pretty much saying that at this point, there was nothing he could do. There were so many people just waltzing around. At this point, he was just trying to, he could only like use his voice to like gently direct people. Hey, maybe don't do that, you know? That's all this guy could do. He couldn't get them all out by himself. Rad Left Dead in the house. Welcome in. What up? What's good? Yeah, he wanted the organic chicken nuggets in prison.
These are fucking patriots. Look at this guy. He's got covered in blood. God bless you.
I got shot in the face. I got shot in the face with some kind of plastic bullet.
He said, God bless you.
It's only a matter of time.
It's all.
Justice is coming. I'm not one to usually take pictures of myself, but in this case, I think I'm making an exception.
Jacob
That's where the photo comes from, that moment.
Angeli, the self-proclaimed QAnon shaman, has just been sentenced to 41 months in prison for his role in the January 6th Capitol riots. He was seen entering the Senate chamber with a spear.
To accept this free call.
41. Oh, because he walked in with a spear. They're going to use that against him, huh?
Was seen entering the Senate chamber with a spear.
Is that an actual metal tip? Oh, no, dude. That could have been a real bet. That's sort of his fatal flaw, was it not?
To accept this free call, press 1.
Oh, dude.
Thank you for...
I wonder how many months he would have gotten if it weren't for that. You might be able to count it on both hands.
using Securus. You may start the conversation now.
Okay. What makes this a good interview? Why? Okay. That's just the question going into this. What makes this good? Here we go. You ever seen the interview from the lawyer of the J6 people? No. Is it like an especially good interview in the sense that we should watch it here? Nonsense Password, welcome in. He gets him to talk, and he doesn't lecture him. Excellent. Now, here's what we got here. We have ourselves a really good comment from Nonsense Password. By the way, follow Nonsense Password. Can y'all do me a favor? I'm in this zone right now where you can help me to take notes. And on this one specific thing, the thing that we're taking notes on, and you can use your channel points to do this. Check it out. Do the zoom, enhance. You use the 1 point. It's one channel point for what did you learn today? What we're learning specifically is what makes good interviews. So what did you learn today? Oops. He gets them to talk, and he doesn't lecture them. Now, that gets added to an actual document. Now, I can't remember where the document is on my computer, but it's somewhere. All right? And that's one way you can help me. So if there's something that you think specifically that makes this a good interview, feel free to use the channel point. Feel free to do that. I appreciate that very much.
Hey, man, how's it going?
All right, cool.
Also, it tells me that it's something I should be looking for in chat, right? Thank you.
Are we good?
Yeah, we're good. How you doing, man?
I'm doing okay, brother. I'm doing okay. You know, spent the last 20-something hours in a cell, so, you know, but at least I had something to work on.
Right. So for those who don't know, where are you at right now?
Oh, I am in Alexandria Detention Center in Alexandria, Virginia. I am sleeping on a 1.5-inch foam mat that is on top of a concrete slab every night, and that's pretty much where I'm sitting all day as well. I get 22 hours in my cell and 2 hours outside of my cell. There's no going outside or working out or anything like that. You know, this place can definitely take its toll on you. You know, it makes me think of the saying in Shawshank Redemption when Red said, in prison a man will do most anything to keep his mind occupied. Yeah, I know how that is.
Right. How would you describe the conditions of the jail that you're in right now?
Well, the conditions in Alexandria are, in the detention center, are not as bad as they were in, say, the D.C. jail. I've never experienced, like, real racism and
They call it DC Guantanamo. I've never heard this. What a wild world. I'm losing my mind. That honestly is blowing the top off my head. Obviously, metaphorically.
prejudice in my life until I went to the D.C. jail. There was a black woman from Nigeria that was like their nurse or their doctor that was examining me while I was fasting for 11 days because they weren't feeding me organic. She thought I was a racist and a white supremacist and all this crap because she believed what was on the mainstream Mockingbird media. And
they call it Mockingbird media.
I told her that I was not racist, that I was not white supremacist whatsoever. That
I love how they call it white supremacist.
That's a good thing, not a bad thing.
No, white supremacy is a bad thing. Dogface Thriller, welcome in.
I've actually, dated all sorts of women of all sorts of races.
You did?
I have all sorts of friends of all sorts of races. And I said, I've even dated several black women. She said, I can't believe a black woman would ever date you. And
It's a little problematic.
I was like, oh my God, this woman is like being openly racist, because if the roles were reversed and she were standing in the doorway while a white nurse told a black guy, I can't believe a white woman would ever date you, she would be appalled. She doesn't know what my ethnic background is. She doesn't know I got Native American blood in me. She doesn't know, you know what I'm saying? She has no idea.
Ooh, he did like a little I got Native American blood in me. Oh no.
Yeah, but she's judging me by the color of my skin. There was also a guard over there that wore a Black Lives Matter mask. So he was taunting the Trump supporters and,
Yeah, I did my 23andMe. He's like, I know my ancestors.
Like harassing them and, messing with them and stuff.
I didn't know you had a Native American in you.
Yeah, that's something that I found out somewhat recently, actually, when I talked to my grandmother of my father, who I never met my actual father, except for like once when I was 30. But my grandmother on that side, she told me that we have Cheyenne blood in us.
For sure. Have you been able to make any friends?
Don't say that.
Oh, no, dude. No offense to anybody in here, but
don't do that.
Jail is not the place to make friends.
I just figure like you might want to play card games or like, spitball and figure out some way to pass the time.
Oh, dude, I can't get it. No. That's the thing. I can't play card games with anybody because I'm in a cell 22 hours a day. And when I come out of my cell, I'm the only one out of my cell.
So you got sentenced to 41 months. How do you feel about that sentence?
Honestly, that's absolutely insane to me. 41 months in a federal prison. Are you kidding me? Disgusting.
I don't think it's fair. If that's what you mean. I think that they thought an example had to be made, and I don't think they anticipated that example being a double-edged sword, where they tried to make an example out of me, but in the process they made it clear to the American people that the justice system is not fair or balanced.
What do you mean by that?
What did he do specifically? I mean, like he's got the pointy spear. That's problematic. Storming the Capitol, problematic. Busting into the chamber itself, problematic. 41 months? Did he beat up somebody? Like, what did he do?
There was a guy that threatened to shoot Pelosi in the head, and he brought 2 guns and a bunch of ammo, and he got 28 months.
See, like, that's pretty fucked up.
I never threatened to hurt anybody. I never vandalized any property. I never hurt anybody. I didn't assault anybody. I didn't steal anything.
I think I'm actually a little bit more sympathetic for him than the first time I watched this. I'm glad I rewatched it. 41 months is fucked.
WTF, mate?
Right. So why do you think they picked you to
He doesn't belong in prison because he's cringe, okay?
make an example out of?
Because I think that I became a symbol, not just so much of January 6th, but because I became a symbol for freedom, a face for freedom of sorts. And, I stood out the most.
All right. Pause. What are we doing here? We're trying to ask ourselves what makes Andrew Callahan such a good interviewer, right? And we're just entirely entranced with the dude that he's interviewing, his story. So, like, what is Andrew doing that's allowing us to do this?
To say the least. And I think I energized a lot of people, not just in the United States, but all over the world, to stand up for their freedoms as well.
How do you feel about the nickname QAnon Shaman?
Well, it's not anything I ever asked for. It's one that was given to me by Alex Jones.
Alex Jones gave you that?
I mean, sometimes you get someone that likes to talk. Sometimes it gets someone that likes to talk. Malcriada thinks he's being very neutral, and he's listening more than anything. That's a good way to start a good interview. Yeah.
That nickname?
Good one.
He's the one that called me the QAnon Shaman for the very first time when I did an interview.
Who did?
Not anything I ever asked for. It's one that was given to me
Was it
by
Alex
Jones?
Alex Jones gave you that nickname?
He's the one that called me the QAnon Shaman for the very first time when I did an interview with him. I think it was on the 8th of January.
Damn.
All right. Andrew's first few questions established that he was genuinely curious in Jacob's story. It's also good to remember they have a previous relationship prior to this interview. Tell me about that. You don't have to add to another note unless you think it adds to the context. But yeah, I wonder what you mean by that. So I got a Word document on my computer. You're literally just appending. I think that's the word. It just keeps adding new comments to the bottom, and I'll be able to look back on this later and be like, oh yeah, that's good shit. That saves me a little time and energy during the live stream. I appreciate you. Jacob sees Andrew as a potential ally, not an adversarial member of the media class. Oh. I'm actually going to take that and I'm going to make that a... Where'd chat go?
Bitch!
I'm going to make that a thing. Where did it go? Oh, it's hiding. That's especially important, I think. Presenting yourself as not being adversarial, but as an ally. It's just it's so simple, but like you got to make sure you remember that. Like, don't lose sight of it. He's not asking basic bitch questions like, do you think Trump won the election? Yeah.
So it just caught on from there.
Chansley is his name? Chansley? Jacob Chansley? It says Angeli. What the fuck is the dude's name?
You're not QAnon Shaman, but you are a shaman, right? And you also...
I do practice shamanism, yes, sir.
Can you tell me more about what shamanism means to you?
The shaman is like a ancient monk or priest, psychologist, pharmacologist, historian, storyteller, artist, astronomer, tattoo artist, psychic, all of these things wrapped into one person.
That is just too much.
And so for me...
Wait, so you're a streamer?
I was always interested and intrigued by Native American culture. And like I told you, my grandmother said that I have Cheyenne in my blood. And she actually said that one of our ancestors was one of the few survivors on the Trail of Tears. So I always knew that the medicine man or the shaman knew something special. And I always wanted to know what that was for myself. And so something very deep in me called me to the shamanic path. And so I searched for the truth of my existence and of enlightenment on the shamanic path. And I always knew I was destined to find it one day.
Right. When did you first get introduced to shamanic practice?
So I officially started...
Just letting him spell it out. Just tell us more.
And deliberately started my shamanic path on November 2nd, 2012, when I got my first tattoos, and those were on my feet. And now I have over 100 hours worth of tattoos, and all of them were earned or like through personal growth or some sort of like a symbol for an accomplishment, or all have some sort of a deep meaning, or were used for to symbolize the overcoming of pain or an obstacle in my life. Like, for example, the bricks.
They're like merit badges for him, his spirituality, and he just makes it up as he goes.
On my arm, the sleeves, I got those after my dad committed suicide. It took like 36 hours to complete, and the whole time I was, using the physical pain to deal with the mental and emotional pain I was in.
Yeah, the top of the foot is supposed to be like one of the most painful places to get tattooed because of all the nerve endings.
Yeah,
right?
That's why I chose it, was because the whole idea with, shamanism is you go through ordeals, and after you go through the ordeal, you you have this like out of body experience, whether it be by overcoming pain or, going through some sort of like long ordeal process, like some people, know about the Sundance ceremony and stuff like that. That's an ordeal. And a lot of these things end up causing out of body experiences or spiritual experiences of reality.
Mm-hmm. I guess, psychologically and emotionally, what prompted you to get those first tattoos on your feet?
Well, I wanted to know, I always ask myself, why are these tribal people all over the world? Why are they tattooing themselves? Why are they undergoing hours and hours and hours of excruciating pain? What's the point?
All right, what's his Volk knot? He's got a Volk knot? That's a white supremacist tat? Or as he would say, that's not a white supremacist tat. That's what he would say. It's not white supremacist. And yeah, the shoes on the windowsill, what are those doing there?
Why?
So at what age did you kind of become interested in Native American culture?
I've always been interested. Yeah, I grew up in Arizona, so I've always been interested in it. It's always been a part of my life,
But was there a particular moment, like maybe in your youth, where you were like, oh, this is something that I think is super cool and like I want to learn more about?
Kind of. I just, whenever I saw the native dudes with the big feather headdresses, when I heard about peyote and hallucinogens.
Have you ever experimented with peyote or anything like that before?
Oh yeah, for sure. All shamans use these tools as a way of transcending the physical body and gaining a larger view of reality. And so the shaman is like an expert of these spiritual or these mental tools that allow people to gain a broader view of the world, of their spiritual connection to all things, and of the nature of God and life itself.
When did you...
There it is. Native dudes with big headdresses and drugs. It's just surface level aesthetics. Yeah. Hard to tell what kind of spiritual journey he's on and what meaningful lessons he's learning on his way, but it sounds pretty surface level. Thimble deep.
Did you first experiment with the medicine?
That was,
he calls it the medicine.
In 2014, 2015, something like that. That was the first time I ever tried peyote, but I had tried other, things like sacred mushrooms and, things like that.
Sacred mushrooms.
What insights do you feel like you gained from peyote?
Well, I can honestly tell you, I'll put it this way. The only way that I can really explain the things that I understand or the insights that I've gained it wasn't just through peyote. It was through things like cannabis, through mushroom experiences, through all sorts of other transcendental experiences, including things like meditation and trance states, breathing rhythms, even things like fasting, tattoos, all of that stuff. And
at this point, you got to go, he really wants to talk. He's very willing to talk. Is he doing this as window dressing? Is this like intentional? And then you got to start getting suspicious. You just always have to be skeptical.
The ultimate conclusion I came to is that the body is a tool for the soul of God, almost like the body is like a microscope and a telescope, and the soul of God is the observer, able to examine the infinitely large or the infinitely small. And so in a way, the body is like an instrument that can be tuned in a number of different ways to tune the mind and the body to the frequencies of God's omnipresent consciousness. You know, every culture has a different name for it. Nirvana to the Buddhist, Brahma to the Hindus, collective unconscious to the materialists. Ultimately, though, I came to discover that the light is one and the paths are many, and everything and everyone is interconnected to the same omnipresent collective soul that we call God. And even science has come to say, you know, that everything is made up of energy. We all have these different words for essentially the exact same thing. But ultimately, because I was always seeking God and the truth about the purpose of life, was I able to find it. I didn't really get, quote unquote, involved in politics until 2020.
What catalyzed?
The ground drops out beneath the music. He goes, I didn't get involved until 2020. He doesn't get involved in politics till 2020. And he finds himself in 2021 storming the Capitol. How does this happen in a year? That's when I'm super skeptical. Before I start taping, I've been doing good at breaking the ice. Yeah, that is a good moment. That is a good moment. I get to like gather myself, and as I'm doing that, sort of get a feel for how they're feeling. Like, are they feeling relaxed? It's definitely an important moment. I could probably learn more about what to do in those moments. I mean, because it's still live. I'm like still streaming live. Heck, probably more of a complimentary observation than a helpful comment. But either way, thank you, Mildred Seashells. Appreciate you, Mildred. Am I Kazakh? Where the fuck is this question coming from?
As you to get involved in politics?
Well, that is a funny story. Let me start by saying that
I don't love the idea of calling people mentally ill in my chat, so I do want to pump the brakes on this kind of comment, but at the same time, you know, you can't make that diagnosis. Don't do that. You know what I mean? Yep. Prison jail.
A fish does not know that it's swimming in water, okay? And a sane person in an insane society will appear insane. So that being said, everything I'm about to say, I ask people to...
That's tricky timing.
Keep an open mind and an open heart and try and understand that, you know, where I'm coming from is a place that is, you know, from literally thousands of hours of research. And I'm a very skeptical and rational person. And the only way I'm ever going to believe anything is if I've seen it from more than one angle and I've heard it from more than one source. And, you know, dinged the little truth bell inside of my heart. So I always knew that DC was corrupt. And when I heard about Podesta's leaked emails to the public,
It was Podesta's leaked emails that got him involved in politics.
I started to read them with a mild curiosity. Then I started to notice a very strange pattern in the emails and many of the other emails that were leaked, and how it involved most of the like some of the most powerful DC moguls, like, you know, Clintons and Obamas and Bidens, and how it involved celebrities and international bankers. And the big picture became crystal clear. And it was not even a week or two later that the first Q drop appeared. And all the research pointed to Q being the beginning of full disclosure.
Did he mention Pizzagate? I didn't catch that part.
And I came to conclude that
There's a lot happening.
was involved at the highest levels of the military and the intelligence community, and that Q was involved with things like the deep underground military bases and black budget technologies and stuff like that, above top secret information. And ultimately, Q involved the warring factions of the deep state, what some people have called the alliance versus the cabal. And then what we were experiencing was kind of like a mind war, and this mind war over the minds of the populations would end up affecting the timelines that we created as a species, almost like hijacking our co-creative abilities, and that would determine the fate of humanity.
So what do you think the deep state wants for the fate of humanity? If they had their way and every sinister plot they are trying to arrange came true, what would our day-to-day life look like?
He's just allowing him to keep digging down. He's not even bringing up anything that he hasn't mentioned before. He's just going, hey, tell me more.
What they want is centralized power through corruption. They want to negate the three-branch checks and balances, three-branch government system, and maintain and expand the corrupt government bureaucracy. So they basically want no freedom, full totalitarian control. They want control and access to all of our biometric data, all of our medical records, all of our financial records, all of our personal data. They want to know all of it and control all of it. They want to make things like vaccines mandatory. There's no body autonomy, no free choice, chips in your hand type of thing. Think like communist China, except in the United States and all over the world. That is what the deep state is looking to do. And somebody may say, well, that won't happen in the United States. And I would say to those people, well, how far are we from 2 weeks to stop the spread? I think that COVID is proof that the corruption that we're dealing with is not just in the United States, but that is global. Vaccines are being used as an excuse to do all sorts of things. I think it's only a matter of time before they're used to round up and detain enemies of the New World Order or of the deep state. This virus is only killing less than 1% of the population. So I think that the ultimate end goal is to have a two-tiered slavery system where you have free-range slaves that are in the cities and they're being used as workhorses to create a large generation of tax revenue for these black budget operations. These people live in the cities. These people are monitored by the deep underground bases, by these classified technologies. These people in these cities are basically held hostage by the corrupt deep underground bases. And then there would be the FEMA camps or the concentration camps, which, these things, believe it or not, may already exist. If you look into the way that certain Walmarts have been shut down and converted. The same stuff we're talking about happened in Nazi Germany. It happened in the USSR. It happened and is happening right now in communist China.
So where does Trump fit into this whole thing?
Well, that's a good question.
Oh my God. He's so far. But every now and then he touches on something and you're like, wait, hold on. No, oh, and then it's wild. What is it? I just cannot wrap my head around this. I'm sorry.
That this whole idea of Pizzagate and the info that was dropped during Pizzagate was almost like a trial run. And
this is what no theory does to a motherfucker, huh?
It was conducted to disclose the truth to the public prior to the 2016 election. So the public knew what was really at stake, and people like Hillary Clinton couldn't get in. And the point is that Q was the next step, I think, in the intel drops. And so after...
Oh. What?
After understanding what in the Q community is known as the Q...
You think so? Hillary Clinton's outside the deep state, the machinations?
the way that the timestamps and the gap code work with the Q drops and how they all relate to Donald Trump's tweets, and how there's a lot of the same verbiage in the tweets as well as in the drops, and they all, a lot of the time, they occur around the same exact time, and the way that certain messages are put out, you know, in time or in lockstep with his tweets and all that stuff. They were using numbers to communicate a much larger and broader message that if you put the puzzle pieces together, it made perfect sense. It seemed to me that
He was
Trump
intellectually
was a part
bright.
of something a lot bigger. That Trump being at the helm in the presidency, he was a part of this faction within the military-industrial complex, within the quote-unquote deep state, the good guys that were trying to free humanity, and they were trying to get rid of this cabal that is essentially full of Marxists, fascists, and New World Order types that are trying to enslave the population. So Trump, you know, he was tough on China, he was tough on Russia, he was tough on Iran. He was trying to create peace in the Middle East. You know, he released the JFK file. He created the Space Force. That was also during the Trump administration. There was a declassification of zero-point energy engine and inertial propulsion or anti-gravity craft that the Navy put out there. Okay, I'll put it this way. Q is the only major movement in history, as far as I can tell, that is working to disclose the full truth about, say, government special access programs, top secret information and technologies, the truth about things like aliens or interdimensional beings and their role here on the planet. They're the only ones that this movement was the only portion of any sort of campaign that I've seen in history that is talking about, like, the breakaway civilization that has been created in these deep underground military bases. It's the only movement that is disclosing the truth about things like looking glass technology, the anti-gravity technology or inertial propulsion technology, how it relates to things like time travel and creating timelines, the way that we have, like, healing technologies or infinite energy devices. And
he just went Christopher Nolan on us. He just incepted us.
How all this stuff relates to
deep underground bases, multiple timelines,
black budgets. And
this is more of a Rick and Morty episode than it is an interview. I love it.
To the endless amount of tax dollars that were being used to create this breakaway civilization. We procured over 1,500 Nazi scientists, doctors, and intelligence agents and brought them over here. We wiped their war records and their war crimes clean.
That's true.
We brought them into our
That's true. This is Operation Paperclip. There's like seeds of truth in here.
government and put them some
Hey,
of the
Dr.
highest
Buenawin.
levels of power in our government bureaucracy during Operation Paperclip.
Right.
Go ahead.
I was saying, like, a lot of those things.
All right. What happened there? He stopped him. He stopped the rant. He stopped it.
Nice.
Was that the right thing to do? It seemed like he was spiraling, and at that point, he would have just gone on and on and on, blah, 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 at any point. I guess that's the time to step in. How did he do it? How do?
Put them some of the highest levels of
Gotta reel him back in.
power in our government bureaucracy during Operation Paperclip.
Right.
Go ahead.
I was saying, like,
right.
a lot of those
So.
things, like,
Right. So. If you need to interrupt, don't just interrupt. Don't even apologize for interrupting. Because when you're not doing it the whole time. It's okay to interrupt if you're not being malicious about it. And when you've built up that honesty, that trust, you get to go right. So hold on. Or just right. So 3 words, and he repeated one of them. That is like the easiest move. That was the simplest move. What a rhetorical device.
are objectively true, right? Operation Paperclip was real. Operation Mockingbird was real. MK Ultra was also real. But do you think that the more intense stuff in the Q universe, like elite Democrats drinking children's blood, is also real?
Here's the thing about that.
He believes it.
For thousands of years, that has been something that has been practiced by elite groups in high levels of occultic power.
Oh, my God.
In ancient Rome, in ancient Egypt, okay, in ancient Babylon, in ancient Sumer, okay. There were high levels of elites, okay, and these individuals, what they would do is they would consume large amounts of psychoactive plants, and then they would do so at places like sacred sites, like the pyramids, or in temples, or near obelisks, or out in the desert, or in sacred sites, et cetera, et cetera. And when they consume these large amounts of psychoactive plants, they would have these out-of-body experiences where they communicated with interdimensional beings that were of like a higher dimensional realm in the frequencies of light that are not perceived by the five senses, okay? And they would download large amounts of data in these higher dimensional data fields that in many cases would go beyond syntax or go beyond the use of words. And these individuals basically expanded their consciousness field to like cosmic levels of proportion, and were able to digest these massive amounts of knowledge that most people don't even perceive because they're so busy being stuck in their bodies. Now, with all of that said, there's another faction within the ancient Egyptian hierarchy, and that would be like the people that worship Set. And Set is like the ancient Egyptian form of Satan. Okay, so Satan worship and Saturn worship are one and the same thing. And so there was this ancient form of Saturn worship in ancient Egypt, where what they would do is, instead of consuming large amounts of psychoactive plants, which they did do on occasion, but what they did more than anything is they used things like...
Is this Joe Rogan adjacent? No. 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 Andrew's in his own lane. But you're hearing the kind of guest that you'd hear more on Alex Jones's show. That's what I'd say. So adjacent in that sense.
Say Hebrew children, or...
But relating to Andrew, I don't know how to compare Andrew. But the guest is definitely Joe Rogan adjacent. More, again, I think more like Alex Jones. InfoWars. This is like farther than like Newsmax. This is like way out there, y'all.
Children of slaves to do these satanic ceremonies of blood sacrifice. And the whole idea is that they terrified their victims to the point to where their victims had an out-of-body experience. And in this out-of-body experience, their body filled with adrenaline, okay? And as their body filled with a bunch of adrenaline, they would end up killing the victim, sacrificing them to Saturn, okay? And in the process, their adrenalized blood would be drained and poured into like a chalice or something like that. And when they drank the blood, they were drinking something known as adrenochrome, because once the adrenalized blood was hit with oxygen, it changed from adrenaline to adrenochrome. Okay, and if people don't believe that adrenochrome is real, all you got to do is watch Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Okay, type in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas adrenochrome.
It's not a movie. It's pretty much a documentary. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. It's pretty much real.
And you will see that this is a very real thing, that you are able to harvest this chemical, this adrenalized blood, and drink it or ingest it, and it will be like an intense psychedelic high. And these individuals would end up using this understanding that they had just for themselves, and creating sort of like an elite group caste that kept everybody else marginalized and ruled. A lot of the time, it was the same bloodlines that were moving from one empire to the other around the globe, and erecting these empires based off of the same ritual magic.
Hey, Terry.
Okay, and they would infiltrate the gene pools of certain ecosystems or certain nations, and then they would use these individuals as they infiltrated the gene pool. They would use their children as like higher level people in power, whether it be making them king or making them a prince or a duke or a sultan or whatever. So this is something that has been going on for quite some time. I mean, if you look in...
Don't believe in giant lizard people swinging in Las Vegas bars? Watch Fear and Loathing. It's real. He goes, it's real. Welcome in, Comrade Proto Man. Love your face.
To, how similar one of the, I forgot his first name, but there was a certain Rockefeller that looks just like John Podesta, and John Podesta looks just like the singer from what's his name, from Lincoln Park. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Chester Bennington.
Chester Bennington, thank you. Yeah, they all look like strikingly similar.
What?
Okay, Merkel in Germany looks just like Hitler. Barbara Bush looks just like Aleister Crowley. What we're talking about is like a 6,000-year-old death cult that has been sacrificing children, like what was going on
Saxon. You thought my headline, give me good examples of mind-blowing interviews. You thought it was going to be, give me good examples of mind-controlling interviews. Let's go.
Babylon.
Let's level up.
And the Canaanites, where they were sacrificing children to Baal and Moloch and all that stuff. Okay, there's international bankers that own whole economies. There are international bankers that own whole countries and whole economies, okay? And these individuals are able to control and corrupt whole institutions of government, of corporations, banking.
Right. So I just wanted to say, I feel that when people talk about ritual murder and the satanic sacrifice of children.
Hi, boo-boo. This is my my literal partner here in chat. Hey, Mel, love your face.
I think that raises a lot of red flags
I actually
for
love
people in terms of like anti-Semitism, because I mean people used what they call blood libel all throughout the 20th century to provide justifications for genocide, and it was kind of spread as propaganda because saying that someone eats babies is like the worst thing you can say about someone. Pretty much, it's like if you lose all your friends, like if people think you eat babies, like it's over for your career and social life. So,
and I think it's important to note here, though, that first of all, you're absolutely right, and there have been many people that have been maligned and been demonized as dark occultists, and it turns out that they're not. There have been a lot of people that have taken the rap when they weren't doing any of these things. Like you said, it was just negative propaganda campaigns. But I also think it's important to note here that there's people that say, "Oh,
that's a big smelly butt."
It's the Hebrews that are doing it, or it's the Satanists that are doing it, or whatever. What you got to keep in mind is that, first of all, real Hebrews would never do anything like that.
When you say they worship Saturn, are you talking about the planet?
Yes. Satan worship and Saturn worship are one and the same.
Is it just because they sound similar, or is there a
No. We're talking people that understand the intricacies.
Yes, everyone. Real Hebrews.
Of astrology, interconnectivity, or what is called quantum entanglement in the quantum field, or the way that electromagnetic fields are nested, and when you contribute certain energies to a certain electromagnetic field, there are certain effects that happen within the ecosystem or within the electromagnetic nested ball of yarn, shall we say.
Right. So I want to talk a little bit more about QAnon. So the mythology of QAnon was all about how this event was going to happen, and it was going to be called the Storm, which is basically when they stop the steal, they put Trump rightfully back in the White House, and then patriots take control of the country and disempower the deep state.
I would not even be able to say that with a straight face without being like, right? But he does. So I guess I gotta try to learn something from Andrew here.
But on December 8th, 2020, QAnon made its last post, which was just a YouTube link to the song "We're Not Gonna Take It." We're not gonna take it, and then pretty much went dark. And it's I think it leaves a lot of people wondering, did the storm happen? What's up with the storm? Is it still coming? What's next?
Well, first of all, I think that we're in the midst of the storm with all of this COVID stuff. I think that we're in the midst of it right now. If you think about the damage that's being done to our economy, to our culture, to our national identity, to the truther movement, as it were. But I think that it's important that people realize that People now know about child and human trafficking, and they also know about the hundreds of deep underground military bases in the United States and all over the world. They also know about things like spiritual parasites and the way that, psychic vampires play a role. They know about adrenochrome. They know about Bohemian Grove. They know about Jeffrey Epstein and his island and all the pedophile networks and the pedophile code.
Well, that part's true.
They know.
You said psychic vampires?
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what these Satanists are. Is they're like psychic vampires.
Okay.
They're like demonic possessed people. That's part of what black magic is you allow your body to be like a vessel for a demonic spirit. Okay, so people.
It's like speaking in code, dude.
Know about the deep state. They know about how blackmail is used in the deep state to cover up the crimes against humanity. How it's all these networks, the pedophile networks and the Mockingbird media is used to cover up the truth about this breakaway civilization that's going on underneath our feet as we speak.
Breakaway civilization.
People are being neuro-linguistically programmed with the truth. But unfortunately, the movement has become fragmented. There's people that infiltrate and spread disinformation.
Right. So I just want to go back to the storm a little bit. The 6th of January was.
All right. So in terms of the interview, what Andrew's doing there. Okay. All right. I want to go back. I'm gonna circle back. He hates to disappoint conservative Twitter, but he's got to circle back. That's just a little interview move. Circle back. You got to pull a Jen Psaki. You got to do a Jen Psaki bomb.
Supposed to be the storm, right?
Second interview tip. Have a candle in the very foreground of your picture.
Is that the case? I don't know.
Nice.
I remember like in a lot of the flyers that I saw for the 6th beforehand, like that got sent to me, it was like the storm is coming. The 6th is the storm, because, they're going to stop Congress from certifying Joe Biden. And then the 20th was supposed to be the storm, which was Inauguration Day. And I was actually in D.C. for Inauguration Day, and it was a military occupation in the streets. There was checkpoints on every street. You couldn't even walk around. There was hardly even a celebration crowd for Biden.
Well, I don't know what you see. All I see is freedom.
And definitely not really an opposition crowd for Trump. I think a lot of people just got turned off from Q because they saw the goalposts just being moved what felt like over and over again. And I was wondering if you felt like it's possible that QAnon may have been a psyop to delegitimize the truth about things like Operation Mockingbird and Operation Paperclip.
What do you think, Unelectable? I see it more of as like a psyop to like just think about, I wonder like what was buried in there, that was like nuggets of truth, but by putting it in there, like delegitimized it, right? I don't think Operation Paperclip or Operation Mockingbird, where does that fit in? He is sort of scratching at the real question there. All right.
I think that there is going to be, in any sort of a truth movement, there's going to be infiltrators and disinformation agents. People have to understand that what we're dealing with is a new type of warfare. Okay, it's a new type of warfare. It's information and economic warfare. And I think that a lot of people are looking, they're missing the forest, they're missing the forest for the trees. Is that the saying? And the final battlefield for this global war that we're in is the mind. And I do not believe that Q is a tabloid straw man, because the movement was not in the tabloids until it began to supersede and threaten the Mockingbird media. And the truth is always rejected, resisted, despised, and demonized before it's accepted. So with that said, I think that we have to look at the wins. There's been lots of resignations like Cuomo, the Cuomo brothers. All sorts of CNN producers are being proven to be pedos. The child trafficking is being exposed. The vax mandates are dead.
What, the CNN pedos?
In the water. Omicron is probably going to create a massive global herd immunity without too much adverse side effects.
We have no fucking clue about long COVID at this point. We have no idea. Statements like that are just like, hey, let's roll the dice.
Brandon is taking over the entire nation. I mean, that's, and of all places on college campuses where they were hoping to indoctrinate all these people to be Marxists. Parents are standing up to school board.
I love the dialect.
No.
And CRT is dead in the water.
Dude, are you kidding me? The one thing that conservatives get right is that generally speaking, these colleges are like liberal institutions. And that is not Marxist.
Water. Kyle Rittenhouse's acquittal was a huge win for the Second Amendment. I mean, for Christ's sake, Black Lives Matter and Trump supporters were marching against the vaccine mandates, for crying out loud. We are now going to have free speech alternatives to social media. Cancel culture is being canceled. People are realizing that woke is broke, man. You know, the world's waking up. Everybody's standing in solidarity together, bro.
What?
So it's going to take some time. That's just all there is to it. It's going to take some time. So I think that what people need to do, as opposed to being demoralized, is they need to pick a hill and have an indomitable will. They need to stop putting all their hopes in one person or in one group, because then their hope is so easily lost. You know, they need to be the change that they want to see in the world. You have to be the change you want to see. Fight with all your might. You know what I'm saying? But
do you? Are you allowed to talk about January 6th?
I'm not going to talk about that. I've been advised by my lawyers just to leave that situation alone.
Okay. Well, I guess. Do you feel like Trump should have done more to help you?
Well, I feel about Trump the way that I felt about him through the 4 years of his presidency. I mean, it's changed slightly with his support of these vaccines, but he took the deep state and the corrupt bureaucracy and the corrupt media on head-to-head. He went toe-to-toe with them, and he did that, I think, for the American people, and
Actually, a good point.
For America in general. I think that took courage and strength.
But he did it from the wrong side. That's what it's just like, okay, just because you're the enemy of my enemy, it doesn't make you my, I'm not on your side necessarily. You're not on my team.
But there's other things where it's like, I look, you know, he built the border wall went through a sacred Native American burial ground. They blew up a sacred Native American burial ground.
That's what made him opposed to the wall?
On the southern border of Arizona.
That's where he draws the line.
So they can put a wall through it. And to me, that's akin to blowing up a veteran's graveyard. I think Trump should have fired Fauci when he had the chance, as opposed to giving him the microphone, as opposed to pushing vaccines and Operation Warp Speed as the greatest achievement of mankind. And once again, coming to your question, I think he could have and should have been there for more of the J6 people. I think he should have been more outspoken. In all honesty, I honestly think he should have given all the nonviolent offenders a pardon, personally. But at the same time, I try to understand
he might have a point there.
His reasoning for all that, you know, and I know that I don't know everything. And I have to respect and appreciate what it is that he has done for the American people, even if I don't always agree with him or see eye to eye.
Right. You know, one thing I think about January 6th in the media, it's very strange to me that people took you, and in the media, especially right-wing media, made it seem like you were some sort of crisis actor hired by Antifa to make people look dumb.
All I can say is, for part of me was like, that's hilarious, because anybody that really knows me knows that's not true. Another part of me is like, okay, this is a perfect example of how it is that the truth gets smeared. The fact of the matter is I'm not
damn it, he's
Antifa.
right.
I'm not Black Lives Matter. And the fact of the matter is when I was marching at the Black Lives Matter and the Antifa protests in Phoenix, I wasn't marching with them. I was marching with the police. I'm a perfect example of how they neurolinguistically program people through the use of images, through the use of trigger words, and through the use of trigger images. And as far as I'm concerned, you need to be the change that you want to see in the world. You need to be the one that's the leader. I think that imagine this, for example. We have a capital in every city, in every state, and in every country all over the world. Imagine if every single person that was dedicated to the truth and to getting the truth out to the people met at their capital every single Saturday at noon. So this is our historical window of opportunity where we can all gather together, nonviolently at our local capitals where we can organize by default. We can change the dialogue. We can, moralize by default. We can change our collective thought patterns by default. This idea of every Saturday at noon at your local capital, it organizes people by default. It changes.
Not only that,
dialogue.
but it would take the stigma away from, pulling up to the Capitol. If we pulled up to the Capitol, our own capitals every week, just like,
exactly.
Hey, we're here.
Exactly.
And then that way.
Think about the way. Oh, go ahead.
That way, you can't say, hey, they went to the Capitol, they're terrorists. You say, they went to the Capitol, that's what they're supposed to do. That's what we always do.
Right? And think about how that would change the collective thought patterns. And think about this. Imagine if every Saturday at the Capitol at noon, people gathered together and they burned their vax cards, or they burned their vaccine passports, or they burned their masks, very similar to what Gandhi did in South Africa with the passes.
He finally broke, but he still muted himself before he did.
The Indians were forced to carry, but no British citizen was supposed to carry or forced to carry. Okay, imagine if everybody refused to socially distance, if everybody was praying or singing, dancing, and socializing, or basically going back to normal. If actually better than normal, because now we're all united. Imagine if at these locations people were talking about Tesla coils and zero-point energy engines. Look at people like Gandhi, look at people like Martin Luther King Jr. and stuff like that. Even look at what happened in the USSR, where everybody gave the communists the finger and said, we're not working for you, we're not working with you, and the USSR fell.
Right, so I want to...
Oh my God, what a monumentally big idiot. I cannot believe this guy learned all of this in 1 year.
I go back to something you talked about, and it's the idea of nonviolent rebellion. And I'm of the belief that you are...
He keeps talking about Gandhi like he's from South Africa. Is he mixing up Gandhi with Nelson Mandela? What's happening here?
Truly nonviolent person. But with a lot of these... With a lot of these large events, like large protests, large rallies, I think that there's going to be a lot of bad seeds that are in the mix, and that isn't referring to a specific event, just in general, And I think that it becomes harder to police and expel violent people from your movement as tensions are high and numbers grow. Like if you go to a Trump rally, right, anywhere. There is people there who are nonviolent, but there's also people who are just there to, beat the shit out of the opposition and just go there and use these movements as an outlet for their hatred. How do you feel about that?
Well, this is something I think that is really important because we can use a certain event, I'll just say that, we can use a certain event that happened to learn. Okay, if there's some sort of violence happening, do not contribute to it. Back away from the violent person and allow authorities to handle it. Then you're not associated with the violence at all. I also think that things like prayer are very, very important at these places. I don't know if you know, but there was this group that did like an experiment where in Washington, D.C., they gathered together, I think it was like once a week, for an hour, and they meditated and focused on the idea of nonviolence and peace and love. And the crime rates in Washington, D.C. dropped by like 25 to 35%. nonviolent rebellion is the only thing that has ever created some sort of long-lasting change. Like what Gandhi said, dude, a victory attained by violence is tantamount to a defeat.
For sure. Do you have any regrets?
Dude, when you're sitting in a cell for 22 hours a day, you have all sorts of regrets, far beyond the ones that landed you in that cell. Okay, you think about everything you've ever done in your life that you're like, man, I screwed up there, I screwed up there, I screwed up there, I messed up here, I wish I would have said that, I wish I would have done that, I wish I would have kissed her, I wish I would have shown up, I wish I would have done this, you know what I'm saying? You pick yourself apart like no other. But the thing is that after all this time in solitary, they did it to break me, but what it did is it made me. All this pressure, the FBI breathing down my neck, the DOJ prosecuting me, the media spewing their lies, my previous counsel totally abhorrently misrepresenting me, saying I'm retarded and, delusional and schizophrenic and all this stuff. All the while I'm in solitary confinement, I can't do anything about it. I can't express myself. I can't talk to the press. The pressure was unbelievable, but it turned me into what David Goggins calls anti-fragile, or almost like a spiritual diamond of sorts, where all that pressure didn't break me. It made me a better, stronger, more spiritual person.
How do you think that you'll be remembered by history?
Well, I'm not done yet.
Right. So what's the plan? What comes next? Like, do you have any plans for whenever you get out?
Oh yeah, I'm going to write an autobiography. I'd like to make movies. I'd like to make music. I want to make some more of my paintings.
We should make music, dude.
Oh, dude, I'm down. Dude,
we should make a first day out video. It's like in rap, whenever rappers get out of jail. Not that you have to rap, but they do a first day out freestyle. You should do something like that, but it's like you drop a music video your first day out of prison.
That would be cool.
It would go crazy.
That would be awesome, dude. I'd totally do it, bro. And I'd work with whoever could help me with that,
We will help you with that.
I also want to start my own church.
Wow.
Yeah. Going back to the music thing, do you know how to freestyle rap at all?
I'm a poet. I'm not a rapper.
He always asks people.
I could probably learn to rap, but
He always asks if people know how to freestyle rap. That would be like me, but you're like, hey, do you know how to do Johnny Cash tunes? And everyone's like, what?
I'm much better when it comes to singing than rapping.
Do you think you could sing something for us? Yeah, that was insane.
Yeah, dude, I can get so freaking loud, bro. I can get so loud, you have no idea.
Did you just freak anybody out in your pod?
I don't know, probably. Dude, I can go for miles. If I'm in the right spot, you can hear me for miles.
Yeah, Dr. Bunawin.
I can't believe your lawyer said you were retarded. That's so whack.
Yeah, it's to say the least. He abhorrently misrepresented me and was extremely inaccurate. But
oh my
I
gosh.
think as people listen to me speak, they begin to see the truth is quite the opposite. So that's why I encourage people, to do their own research, because that's really the only way. I mean, like, seriously, if all people would have had to do to know the truth about me and who I really am, that I'm not a deep state actor, that I'm, not mentally ill, that, that I had nothing to do with BLM or Antifa, all they would have to do is would have had to go to my Rumble, go to my BitChute, and read my book.
Right. So what media outlets do you trust?
Oh, dude, I don't really. I search so many media outlets. I search so many sources before I ever come to a conclusion about anything. But look, I want to keep talking to you, but unfortunately I do have to go. I got to give my family a call because of the holiday and such. But if you want, we can do another interview, bro. I can always call you back.
Yeah, I'm down. So I was wondering,
making a weekly thing.
I have this friend named Kelly.
New podcast.
Who I was telling you about, who we're making a documentary on, and yeah, I kind of want you to meet him.
Okay, cool. Then we'll definitely work it out. We'll definitely do something, man. Thanks, Channel 5, for having me on, man, and I hope to be on once again. It's been a pleasure, like beyond what it's been before. The questions you asked were fan-frickin-tastic, and I hope to do this again. Thank you so much, Andrew, and, God bless you, and God bless America, and God bless the world.
Yeah, God bless you too, man. Let's keep in touch. Anytime you call,
bless the world.
Yes, sir. God bless, man. I'll talk to you in a little bit.
Sounds good, man.
Wow. That's it. All right, your thoughts. What made that so good? One good thing was he didn't judge. He didn't judge. Really important, yeah. If you want him to spill the beans. Was this the comment I wanted to show off? No. Here. Our impulse to start making fun of him, while valid and good, is not good for interviewing. Just do non-confrontational. You give them the rope under the pretext of being actually curious to even the wildest beliefs. People like this are not given rope like this in an interview context, often at all, because even a well-intentioned interviewer is subject to their impulses. We're all listening to right now. Yeah, oh yeah. Like all these little things you want to grab onto and be like, oh my God, he said this. Right? Brilliant. Especially the part about labeling him as Antifa by all the rubes he stood in solidarity with. Yeah. He did sort of know. He has like he's got like a basic understanding. He's got like a deep state. He gets it, but he just doesn't have the details. You know? He doesn't got the details. Speaking about Q Shaman, Andrew presents as neutral or even sort of mirrors the person he's interviewing. That's really good. Yeah. Always chill, non-confrontational. He learns to use language that appeals to them. All right, I'm going to make that a what did you learn? I'm going to add that to the document. Thank you. That's a good one. Yeah, right. Thank you. Whenever my kids interview me, they just continue to ask me why until I'm having an existential crisis. That's a cartoon. You just described a cartoon. You just described an episode of Animaniacs. I got Yoshimi going crazy outside. I think she's probably playing a game with herself. Like, isn't that an Animaniacs bit where someone just keeps asking why? Why? What is that? What is that bit? Maybe Yoshi will play with me. Come here. What do you got? Seems like you got a toy. Do you have a toy? What are you playing with? You playing with this? Yoshimi's tripping out. You can hear she's playing with some toy. Not sure it's happening in real life. It's not a joke. But I do believe it's a cartoon or something. I can't remember what it was. All right. I think we're picking up good stuff here. Yoshi, you want to play fetch? If you play fetch, we can play fetch. Bring it in. Bring it to me and I'll throw it. I got to stay here, though. That's where the microphone is. Come here, Yosh. Andrew's also very good at networking and using underground channels and communities. Yeah, what do you mean by that? I'm not sure what you mean. I need more coffee. Oh, it's Friday. Ladies and gentlemen, it's almost the weekend. All right. Well, I think that was a really good interview, and I'm very happy I watched it. A lot to learn from. I could probably watch it a couple, 2, 3 more times and still learn more from Andrew. Really good stuff. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to end the segment. Please like, please subscribe, please comment. Keep the stream alive. Love your face. Support on Patreon.